This anime is about a girl who died and reborn as a selfish princess in an otome game called Our Ray of Light, but then finds out that she is actually the final boss of the game. The anime begins with the little girl standing calmly and remembering her past life, where she was clearly murdered and sent to another world by Trop Cohen. When she remembers everything, she screams like a great screaming queen and falls down on the ground. It turns out she was about to replay the game, but was unbelievably killed by Trop Cohen. Then she introduces us to the game's storylines, where her name is Pride, and she is the final boss of the game who commits lots of atrocities and causes the country's downfall in just 10 years, and in the end, she gets killed by the protagonist and her lover. While thinking about the game, her father enters the room, informed her that her mother Rosa is also concerned about her. Pride reveals to us that her mother is the great leader of the country, and she hardly ever meets her. But suddenly, she remembers that she also has a younger sister and asks about her to her father. She reveals that her younger sister's name is Tiara, who is 2 years younger than her and the protagonist of the game. When her father hears about it, he thinks Pride possesses the same power as her mother Rosa and congratulates her. Pride remembers that she did not see this scene in the game, and then her father goes out for an important work and tells Pride that they will talk about her sister later. After her father leaves, she remembers something important and runs to the window, telling her father not to go on that carriage because it has a broken wheel, which will cause his death before he meets Rosa. While giving a warning to her father, a gust of wind comes out of nowhere, causing Pride's legs to slip from the ground. Fortunately, the guard holds her hand like a true protagonist and saves her. Both maids in her room suddenly kneel before her and beg for mercy and fear. It reveals that Pride was so selfish that she often gives them punishment and death for little mistakes. After realizing this, Pride starts crying and apologizes to them. Her father swoops in and is shocked to see her crying and apologies. In the next scene, we see Pride having a bad dream about a boy crying in front of her eyes and saying he'll kill her no matter what, but upon waking, she meets Stale, the guy who has a love interest with the protagonist of the game, and he is her brother-in-law from now. She also reveals that he is the only child of his mother, but he brings here to be the assistance of Pride. Pride gets shocked by seeing his hand locked, and her father explains to her that it's because he tried to escape by using his teleportation power and did other things too. But when her father says these handcuffs will be unnecessary when he enters the contract of subordination with her, Pride remembers that in the game, she tricked him into signing the contract by promising him she'll let him meet his mother. After realizing this, Pride goes to him at night and gives him his handcuff key, telling him to escape by using it. But Stale tells her that he will not going to do it because if he did, he and his mother will be punished horribly. Pride gets upset and leaves the room, wishing him good night. In the next scene, Stale makes the contract with Pride, and they start playing happily. But the next day, when Pride meets Stale, he suddenly falls down, revealing that he caught a fever by studying hard and remembering his mother this whole time. This also makes Pride cry because in the game, she is the one who gave him order to kill his beloved mother. When Stale wakes up, he finds Pride crying in front of him. She cries and apologizes to him, claiming that she is responsible for the separation of him and his mother, but still, she could not help him. The episode ends with Pride promising Stale that she'll make everyone smile and request him to kill her if she becomes the most deplorable queen. The next episode kicks up with Stale's nightmare, where he sees a dream about how Pride forces him to kill his own mother and tortures him. Upon waking, he resumes his ordinary routine, resolute in his ambition to change the nation's rule to reunite with his mother. However, an unexpected visit from Pride interrupts his thoughts. She whisks him to her father's chamber, where her father presents him a letter from his long-lost mother. As he reads, Stale's tears of joy flow freely, and her father explains that it was at Pride's request that they have arranged a monthly stipend for his mother. Then we see Stale thinking about how to reply to his mother's letter, but suddenly hears some noise outside. He uses his teleportation power to get near to Gilbert and finds out that he is trying to downplay Pride by spreading lies. Stale returns to his room and decides to tell all things to Pride's father and mother but hesitate, realizing they won't believe him in the current situation. He decides to gain more skills and knowledge in order to earn more trust than Gilbert, so he can protect Pride in the future. Then we see Pride's mother talking with Tiara, telling her that Pride and Stale will meet her tomorrow on her birthday. On the next day, Pride and Stale go to the birthday celebration and meet their mother and Tiara. Pride feels a little jealous on Tiara, but she cools down upon hearing her cute voice. While the three of them promise to protect the country and its people, their mother swoops in and declares Pride as the next in line for the throne. While they are all enjoying the party, Gilbert swoops in and starts talking about some negative things, but is stopped by Stale. Stale shows the hard work he has put in until now, leaving Gilbert, Pride, and Tiara completely shocked. But when he starts talking more with Pride, her father swoops in and takes Gilbert away from them. Then we see Commander Roderick coming to the birthday celebration and meeting Pride. So, the episode ends with Pride asking Mr. Roderick about his son, and her mother and father thinking about a positive future for her. The next episode begins with Stale's sword practice and a conversation between Pride and Tiara, where Tiara playfully says Stale is going to marry Pride. This causes Stale to lose his focus and be defeated. While taking care of Stale, Pride suddenly remembers something important. She challenges Carl to a friendly battle and successfully defeats him. She reveals that her special ability is cheating, and she can learn everything in just one glance. Seeing this, Stale feels down, but Pride motivates him, and he starts his practice again. Later, Pride and Stale visit a knight's practice, where Pride remembers how she used these skillful knights in the game to commit crimes. Suddenly, a knight comes running, informing them that the soldiers commanded by Commander Roderick have got a surprise attack by an enemy. The vice captain tries to send Pride to a safe place, but she refuses and decides to help them. By using Stale's teleportation power, they supply medicine to the soldiers. The vice captain orders half of the vanguard to help the captain and the other half to capture the enemies, but Captain Roderick informs the vice captain that the ground is unstable up there. Suddenly, Pride remembers a scene from the game and tells everyone that the cliff will crumble if the vanguard goes up to the cliff top. She tells the vice captain to order all of the vanguard to focus on saving the captain and soldiers, and tells the captain to move all the soldiers far from the cliff. Unfortunately, all the soldiers move far away, but the captain's right leg gets stuck in the rocks. While Mr. Roderick contemplates his peaceful death there, his son Arthur swoops in, starts crying, and asks why no one is going to save him. Pride's kind heart awakens upon seeing this emotional scene, and she enters the battlefield to help Captain Roderick. After showing her shooting and sword skills, she realizes that the cliff is about to collapse. So, she throws the leader of the enemies towards the captain and tells him to hold onto him tightly. Then she asks the enemy's leader to use his special ability, otherwise, they will all die. The next episode starts with a scene from the game, where Captain Roderick is buried under the cliff, and Pride starts laughing and mocking his son. This causes his son to decide to take revenge on his father and become a crucial part of the game. However, in the present, he is saved because the enemy leader puts up a protective barrier. After the rescue of all the soldiers and the captain, Captain Roderick asks Pride for a meeting, where he lectures her about how she nearly ruined his grave. He tells her that knights are meant to die for the kingdom's sake, but if the princess were to die for a knight, it would be a shame for him. But Pride doesn't give up. She remembers his son's sad face and starts to explain how the captain's death could be a significant problem for the army, especially during enemy attacks. Their argument comes to an end when the vice captain swoops into the conversation and thanks Pride for saving his beloved friend. Then Arthur thanks her for saving his father and promises her that he will become a knight and protect her for his entire life. Pride remembers that in the game, Arthur was the captain of the knights who defeated her in a sword battle. The episode ends happily with Arthur and his father thanking Pride, and she hugs them, and secretly tells Arthur that if she becomes a worse queen, he shouldn't hesitate to stab her throat. Later, while Mr. Roderick and his son engage in sword practice, Arthur's mom swoops in and playfully asks why Arthur suddenly decided to become a knight, causing Mr. Roderick to run away by mistakenly taking Arthur's sword. Meanwhile, Pride decides to visit Mr. Roderick out of worry for Arthur. While chatting with Roderick, Arthur swoops in and brings back his sword. But when he is about to leave, Stale suddenly calls him back and asks him to become his partner. While training, Stale tells Arthur that he is the only one he can believe in after witnessing his loyalty toward Pride. He tells him that he needs to become stronger in order to protect Pride in the future, because Stale thinks he is not strong enough to protect her. While chatting and training, They both become best friends, and Stale encourages him to apply for the knight selection. The episode ends with Arthur decides to apply for knight, and Pride, Tiara, and Stale wishing him best luck.